Benjamin Clark. I'm a LPC here at Thriveworks, lead clinician out of the Woodbridge office.
What inspired you to get into the mental health field?
Um, when I was an undergraduate, I decided I was doing recreation management and tourism, so a lot of outdoor stuff. I took a psych class and was like, this is pretty awesome. And so I ended up double majoring with a recreation management and tourism degree as well as a psych and human services degree from undergraduate. I really loved psych. Didn't go in, I did kind of go into it right away. Did wilderness therapy and stuff like that as undergraduate.
What is wilderness therapy?
So, wilderness therapy, this program was kind of, kids, at risk teens, their parents, mostly had affluent, it was a pretty expensive program where they'd go out and kind of hike for 90 days and do some other things and then go to a, kind of a village and then they'd go to a farm and, and get therapy throughout the whole thing, kind of detox and some other stuff and then reintegrate back into their communities.
Can you tell me a little bit about Thriveworks?
So Thriveworks, what I know about Thriveworks is working for them has been pretty much a good experience for what I wanted to happen, right? I wanted to actually come into an office still. I didn't want to do everything via Zoom or telehealth when I switched from working from my last place. I wanted a brick and mortar place to come to. So, this Thriveworks was actually doing that still brick and mortar, but still trying to offer telehealth and Zoom access. Coming out of COVID, a lot of things had shifted. So telehealth became, a lot more prominent, but I still wanted to be able to see people in person. So, Thriveworks is really working to make everything, accessible to people out there. I think they are partnered with all insurance companies, which makes it readily accessible for people where it might not have been. Telehealth and being able to do it via Zoom makes it definitely for my clients a lot more able. They can take their lunch breaks while they're at home or stuff like that and hop on a Zoom calls where I get a lot of people or some people they're like, oh, my first meeting's not till 10, so I can see them at 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. Or things like that, or they don't have to worry about trying to get here after their commute, so they'll hop on a Zoom, in their office before they head home for the evening. So, I really like the way they've set it up. I think one of the things that they talked about too was like when Thriveworks was, kind of coming up, the CEO was trying to call around and find a clinician and spent so much time trying to find a clinician, couldn't find a clinician. No one called back, no one answered. So, I think our turnaround time is 7 days, from the time you could have an appointment, whereas some places are up to, 6 to 7 weeks. So they've made it accessible, which has been very helpful and, but still maintaining high quality level of care with, actual licensed professionals.
Yeah, I do telehealth because it is convenience and it was easier to get into than in person. But what sets in person differently than telehealth?
The one thing I really do like about in person is, it can be very distracting to just stare at a screen. It can be very impersonal at times, right? You don't have that feeling of connection with somebody literally sitting 5 feet from me. Not to mention, I can see people, in their full presentation, whereas, you only get the box,
Yeah.
in Zoom, depending on how that is, which I think it is insightful to be able to see people in their home environment. And so I actually appreciate that. I have a few clients that, I've worked with for a while now, and they go back and forth between Zoom or in person. So if like the week is hectic for them, they'll come in and or they'll use Zoom and say, hey, the week's really hectic. I've got a couple clients who'll just email me the day of and say, I'm gonna have to take the Zoom. I was supposed to be in person. And it's like, nope, no problem. And then other times they're like, no, this was a really stressful situation. I would love to come see you. And most of them say it just feels better to come in and, especially just to kind of like have a place to unwind. And it's pretty interesting to watch everybody kind of how they approach sitting on the couch or in the chair and how they get comfortable throughout the session.
Do you see your clients' confidence level rise as they go through the process?
Of course. That's a wide range. I can get some people who come in for an intake and they just dump out everything that they've had, and they're like, oh my gosh, all this stuff, and they'll spill it all, and I'll be like, all right, well, I feel like we need to see each other weekly, or maybe every other week feels comfortable. What do you think? And they give me what they think, and they come back, and then they go, I felt so much better just getting that off my chest last week. Like, I can't believe how much better I felt just from speaking about it. And I often say, well, that's the benefits of coming to see a provider who knows how to be objective and open to your situation and non-judgmental. Friends and family are great supports, and they can do a lot of heavy lifting, a lot of heavy lifting. But sometimes you really do need to get that perspective from someone who's going to be objective, non-judgmental. They're not going to bring in all these other stories. They're going to hear what you have to say and what you're presenting. And so I think, yeah, they benefit a lot from being able to just get it out. And then once you give them some skill, once they learn that, I think awareness comes in. And once you have awareness, you can build on some skills and coping strategies and things like that.
Yeah, what are some of your methods?
So I use cognitive behavioral therapy mostly, with a little bit of DBT skills as well. So dialectical behavioral therapy. So some mindfulness comes with that. So cognitive behavioral therapy basically says, we have a trigger, we have some thoughts, some emotions and behaviors, and how that cycle works. It's good, healthy for us to understand it, so we can manage certain emotions that trigger us to feel uncomfortable and struggle to maintain what we need to do. So I use cognitive behavioral therapy a lot, really try to increase awareness. And, I think one big thing that I do that it really helps my clients, or two big things, is education. When I go over stuff, like maybe I'll share on my screen and say, hey, this is some stuff, what this looks like. These are cognitive distortions or automatic negative thoughts, or this is what a mindful pause looks like, or things like that. I'll share my screen and I send over those things to them in email, and so they can look them up and they can follow up. Or, hey, this is what anxiety looks like. This is anxiety versus a panic attack. This is what emotion regulation looks like. These are what anger, communication styles. So I like to start with a lot of that stuff depending on the situation, and give them a good education as a base. And then after that, we kind of build on that, and they come back, and after a while we stop maybe educating as much, but more kind of like getting into the nitty gritty of all the experiences and history that may have been compounding.
How does outdoor recreation help your mental health?
Ooh. It's necessary. I'm a huge mountain biker. So I mountain bike. So kind of, as I mentioned, I'm a double major. Part of that was I spent about my 20s. I kind of dabbled between doing some side work as a mental health practitioner, but also coaching snowboarding. I even coached at the collegiate level and traveled around doing that. I built terrain parks and was a supervisor at resorts, and then I do some case management work every once in a while in between all that. And so I did that for about 15 years as well. And then about 10 years ago, went back to grad school and started the process of doing that. And yeah, it. I definitely joke with my clients that I'm like, if you don't want to hear about me saying you need to get moving, you may need to find a new therapist. But most are pretty receptive. I'm not saying everybody needs to get up and go climb mountains or do CrossFit, but I'm the benefits of getting out in nature, community, and recreating are very important. And that's one thing I learned from recreation management. Was that leisure behavior is super important. Learning how to play can do a lot of work, right? Play and being communal and all those things can sort out a lot of things in the head. If you're just doing passive entertainment, like scrolling your phone, watching TV, or not leaving the house for days, right? You just you don't really let your brain kind of do some of the things it needs to do to sort stuff out. And so that's why I think it's beneficial. I live close enough. I can ride my bike to work some days, and I love when I do. It helps me so much better to be focused. So I promote that for my clients a lot, whatever their level is. I have elderly folks that I'm like, just take a walk around the block, walk your dog. Like, check with your doctor, of course, but, get out, get moving. So, yeah, I think recreation is very vital to a healthy life.
And with that, what else do you do to help your own mental health?
Just exactly that. So one of my side, I have a fun job, and I do ski and bike patrol at a local resort a couple hours away. And so from time to time, I'll go down there and I'll put in a shift of in 9 to 10 hours, just riding my bike all day, getting outside, and it's not just getting out; it's socializing. Right? I go talk about bikes all day. I'd love to not talk about psych all the time, but most people know I'm a therapist, so I get some stuff on the chairlift, like, hey, or, oh, that's my, whatever. I'm like, yeah, but it's my chance to get out, talk bikes, and have fun, and be communal, hang out with kids, and joke around, but also still helping people and brush up on some of my medical skills and things like that. And I just love being outside all day. Like I said, in my 20s, I spent a lot of time working outdoors and being like that. So it was a bit of a shift to be an office guy now, but
Have you seen over the past couple of years the stigma of just talking about mental health lessening?
oh, for sure. Clients come in all the time and, they come in trying to understand some stuff. Why does this feel this way? Why does this happen? And they're just kind of curious. And sometimes they have an idea what's going on. Other times they're just like, I don't know. My wife said come in. This said come in, right? And so that right there speaks to the fact that people are talking about it, right? Like I get plenty of like my wife said to come in, or my friend said, hey, you should probably talk to someone about that or something. So I love hearing that when my clients come in. Like a friend or family member referred them to, what, maybe you should just go talk to someone for a little bit. And so I love when they come in with that and their curiosity's there. It helps to get them in. And then as I tell them all the time, once they, they've done an intake and some sessions, and I'm like, you see what it looks like now. If you need help, you can go, right? It's not like the movies where I want to keep you for 5 years and have these no, we want to help you. And when you feel good to get through it. And so I think the impact of that spreading out too is where a lot of people see, I saw a therapist for a little while a year ago, and it was so helpful to get me through this rough patch. Right. And so I think that's kind of like what's being spread out there. And I like that. It's kind of destigmatizing it. And, I joke when I do the intake all the time. I'm like, do you know what your family members, if they had any mental health concerns or anything like that? And they're like, and I'm like, you're allowed to speculate a little bit because the previous generations just didn't go. Right. And you didn't talk about it. You managed the things within the family. And so now we've got people showing up, asking the hard questions, trying to understand themselves better. And then, like I said, once you come in and you learn what it is, it's not so scary. You can, stop care for a little while. And then when things get rough, maybe in a year or two again, something happens, come right back and you know what to expect.
What advice would you give anyone going through a tough time?
Well, might sound cliche, but you're definitely not alone. It's a lot of times people come in, they're like, "Do you understand? Do you know?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, not in a dismissive way, like, oh, everybody comes like that, but like, yeah, no, I totally understand. That makes a lot of sense because a lot of people experience this." But as I start off with like emotions wheels and things like that, looking at comfortable and uncomfortable, right? There's a lot of emotions we have and there's a lot of needs we have. And when people are under a lot of stress, they don't realize what these emotions are because we don't talk about them. We don't, oh, I'm so melancholy this week, honey. Or I'm depressed, or, I'm discouraged. Those aren't the words that we use when we talk to people. And so I think, when they're able to come in and put some words to it and things like that, it helps them to feel connected, and they're like, oh yeah, no, I see all those feelings. Those are me. Like that's what I feel like, like that makes sense to me. And so I would say you're not alone. Go talk to someone. It's helpful for friends and family, of course, right? But, go see a practitioner who's, you know, had knows evidence-based practices. I know that sounds very, but knows what we're looking at, right? Not everybody comes in and I address them the same way. I might use some of the same stuff, but it's important to be able to see what each person needs, and so that's why I say, you're not alone, and go seek some help. Make sure it's a right fit with your therapist.
But like that, you said that everyone's is different in therapy. Like I live with bipolar disorder too, and my treatment is probably way different than someone else who has a similar illness.
Right, right. It can be way different, and then it can also be very similar in certain components. I talk about, ADHD a lot, right? That's one of my focuses that I work with. And ADHD, I joke, is kind of like a grab bag of some of the disorders. It has a little bit of everything involved in it. And it kind of, everything kind of shows up in a different way. So you have to know how to, I guess, triage it, per the experience, right? And I would imagine bipolar has a lot of the same things too. There's fun diagrams you can look up where it's overlaps of symptoms and disorders and things like that. And those are always fun to go over with clients and watch their face light up and go, oh, I do that. I do that. Oh my gosh, I do that. No, that makes so much sense. So I love that part too.
Where do you want to see your mission, say, in the next 3 to 5 years?
Ooh. Well, you already asked me about integrating recreation and nature and things like that, so that's 100% it. I've brought that up even to Thriveworks, where I know this is not totally the forum that kind of fits that, but I have brought it up in a couple times that I've met with other people. Definitely being able, I see myself really wanting to get outside with people. As we mentioned, I did work in wilderness therapy for a little while, and when I did that, some of my best sessions, it felt like, were when we were tending the garden or working on a volunteer project in the community or just walking around the farm or the property or something like that. I think it disarms people. And even my last job, I was able to walk around the complex with people, with my students and clients. And those were some of them, some of the better conversations too, because we're not, sometimes face to face is too much, sometimes looking away. Some clients are say, "Do you mind if I don't look at you?" Especially if maybe they're on the spectrum. They might be like, "Is it all right if I don't look at you?" I'm like, "That's fine." When we're outside in nature, there's so many other things to calm us, but also to focus on. And staring at someone doesn't necessarily always make for the best way to feel comfortable to talk. So sometimes having something else there to distract or, deflect is very helpful too, I think. And nature 100% is helpful.
How can people reach out to you and learn more?
Definitely, Thriveworks has, a lot of their stuff online that you can look at and things like that. I have a bio on there as well. And so you can reach out to me there that way. In the future, I'd love to do some more online kind of presence and stuff like that, but still in the works for now.